The mannequin stood naked in my childhood bedroom, its white satin skin pooled on the floor beneath it like shed snake scales. I'd only been at work for 8 hours. 8 hours, and my mother had managed to destroy 3 years of savings, 18 months of planning, and the one thing that made me feel beautiful. The dress was gone. My custom-made, hand-beaded wedding dress that I'd saved for since I was 22. The dress that took 6 fittings to perfect. The dress I'd hung in my old room at my parents' house because my studio apartment didn't have proper storage, and Mom had insisted, it would be safer there. Where is it? My voice came out steadier than I felt. Mom didn't even look up from her magazine. That old thing? I sold it to Mrs. Patterson down the street. Her daughter's getting married next month. She flipped a page. Got $50 for it. Should cover the electricity you used storing it here. The room tilted. You sold my wedding dress. For $50. Oh, stop being dramatic, Nicole. She finally looked up, her eyes sharp and cold. Fat girls don't deserve white anyway. You should thank me for saving you the embarrassment. I felt my father enter the room before I saw him. He had this way of making the air heavier. What's all the noise about? She sold my wedding dress. He snorted. Who'd marry you without our help anyway? Marcus is already doing charity work taking you on. Don't push your luck with fancy dresses. My fingernails dug crescents into my palms. They didn't know Marcus had bought that dress with me, that he'd cried when he saw me in it during the fitting, that he'd whispered I looked like starlight. They didn't know a lot of things about Marcus, about me, about the life I'd built away from their poison. Mrs. Patterson, I said quietly. Which daughter? The pretty one, Mom said, returning to her magazine. Brittany Patterson. Size 2. 5'3". My dress would need to be butchered to fit her. The thought of scissors cutting through the French lace I'd selected, the bodice I'd had restructured 3 times to be perfect, I couldn't breathe. I left without another word. In my car, I called Marcus. He answered on the first ring, like always. Hey, beautiful. How was? She sold it. My voice cracked. She sold my dress. Silence. Then, I'm leaving work. Where are you? In my car. Outside their house. I can't, Marcus. She sold it for $50. Said fat girls don't deserve white. Don't move. I'm coming. While I waited, I did what I always did when my parents' cruelty became too much. I planned. Not revenge, exactly. Something better. Something that would show them exactly what they'd lost when they decided I wasn't worth loving. Marcus found me in the parking lot of a coffee shop 3 blocks from my parents' house. He folded me into his arms, all 6'4" of him wrapped around my 5'8" frame like armor. We'll get you another dress, he murmured into my hair. No. I pulled back. No, I don't want another dress. I want something better. He studied my face. What do you have in mind? Remember when you asked if I wanted to elope? Skip the big wedding. You said your parents would never forgive you. I laughed, sharp and bitter. They sold my dress for $50, Marcus. They've never forgiven me for existing. So what do you want to do? I want to get married without them. But not eloping. Something bigger. Something that shows everyone exactly who they are. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then, my grandmother. What? My grandmother was a designer. Before she died, she left me her wedding dress from 1952. It's been preserved professionally. She always said it was waiting for the right person. He cupped my face. It's yours if you want it. Marcus, I couldn't. She would love you. She would love that you're wearing it to marry me. And Nicole. His eyes turned hard. She would absolutely love that we're using it to show your parents what real family means. 3 weeks before the wedding, I stood in Rosaria's alterations, watching her work on Marcus's grandmother's dress. It was nothing like my original. Where mine had been modern and simple, this was vintage Hollywood glamour. Ivory silk that caught the light like moonlight on water, a sweetheart neckline that actually flattered my curves instead of hiding them, and a train that moved like liquid poetry. You look like a movie star, Rosaria said through the pins in her mouth. Like the ones from the old films. I did. For the first time in my life, I looked like the woman I was, not the girl my parents tried to make small. Can you do one more thing? I asked. Can you embroider something on the inside? Where only I'll know it's there. What would you like? Fat girls deserve love. In gold thread. Rosaria smiled. It would be my honor. The alterations cost more than my original dress. Marcus paid without blinking. His family, his parents, 3 sisters, countless cousins, all contributed to the wedding my parents refused to support. His mother, Diana, took me shopping for shoes, holding my hand when I cried in the boutique. His father, Robert, walked me through the venue when my dad said he was too busy. His sisters became my bridesmaids when my own sister, Vanessa, said she'd rather die than stand next to the fat one in photos. But the real revenge wasn't the dress. It was what I did with the guest list. I invited everyone. Every aunt who'd commented on my weight at Christmas. Every cousin who'd laughed at my parents' jokes. Every family friend who'd witnessed their casual cruelty and said nothing. And I invited them specifically, personally, with handwritten notes. "You've been such an important part of our family story," I wrote. "We couldn't imagine this day without you." Then I invited Mrs. Patterson and Brittany. The wedding day arrived gray and drizzling, but the greenhouse venue glowed like a terrarium of light. 200 people filled the space, fairy lights twinkling overhead, gardens blooming despite the October chill. I stood in the bridal suite, my hair swept into a vintage style that matched the dress, pearl earrings that had been Marcus's grandmother's touching my shoulders. Diana knocked. "They're here. Your parents. Where are they sitting?" "Right where you asked. Front row, next to Mrs. Patterson and Brittany." "Perfect." The music started. Robert offered me his arm. "You ready, sweetheart?" "I've never been more ready." The doors opened, and I watched my mother's face go white. This dress, was everything mine hadn't been. Where she'd sold simple elegance, I wore old Hollywood glamour. Where she'd stolen $50 worth of fabric, I wore a family heirloom worth $50,000. Where she'd tried to make me small, I stood tall, curves and all, looking like a queen. Brittany Patterson was there, wearing a hastily altered version of my dress that hung on her frame like a potato sack. The French lace I'd selected looked cheap retrofitted to her body. The beading had been removed to take it in, leaving visible holes. She looked like she was wearing a costume of my dream, while I looked like the dream itself. But the best part was the ceremony. Marcus's cousin Sarah, the officiant, smiled at the crowd. "Before we begin, the bride would like to say something." I took the microphone, my voice clear and strong. "Thank you all for coming. Marriage is about family, the family you're born into, and the family you choose. Today, I'm choosing my family." I looked directly at my parents. To those who sold my dreams for $50, who said fat girls don't deserve white, who asked who would marry me without their help. I paused, smiled. "This is Marcus. He would. He did. Without your help, without your money, without your approval. Because real love doesn't come with conditions." My mother's face went from white to red. My father started to stand. "Please," I said sweetly. "Don't leave. I'd hate for you to miss the father-daughter dance. Robert has been practicing for weeks." Robert stood, waving from his seat, beaming. My father sank back down. The ceremony was perfect. Marcus cried when he saw me. I cried when he read his vows. His family cried when we exchanged rings. My family sat in stony silence, watching the celebration of a love they'd tried to diminish. During the reception, I made sure to stop by their table. "Thank you for coming," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "And Mom, thank you for selling my dress. This one," I did a small spin, the vintage silk flowing perfectly, "is worth 100 of that one. Just like the family who gave it to me is worth 100 of you." Brittany Patterson couldn't look at me. She spent the entire reception tugging at the poorly altered dress, trying to make it work. It didn't. My mother found me during the mother-daughter dance, which I was dancing with Diana. "You humiliated us," she hissed. "No," I said calmly. "You humiliated yourselves. I just made sure everyone saw it. You're out of the will." "What will? The house you mortgaged 3 times? The savings you spent on Vanessa's third divorce lawyer? The family jewelry you pawned last year?" I smiled. "I know about all of it. I also know Marcus's family owns the bank that holds your mortgage. Funny how life works." Her face went white again. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to smile for the photos. You're going to tell everyone how happy you are. And then you're going to leave my life forever. Because if you don't, everyone will know exactly what you did. Not just the dress. Everything. Every cruel word, every stolen moment, every time you tried to make me small. You wouldn't. I'm wearing a $50,000 vintage dress while you're sitting next to the woman wearing my destroyed dreams for $50. Try me." The photographer captured the moment perfectly. Me, radiant in Marcus's grandmother's dress, my new family surrounding me with love, while my parents sat at their table, faces frozen in the realization that they'd sold their daughter for $50 and lost everything. The dress now hangs in my closet, in the house Marcus and I bought 6 months after the wedding. It's wrapped in acid-free tissue preserved for our daughter, should we have one, who will know she deserves to wear white, deserve love, deserves everything, no matter what size she is. My parents haven't contacted me since the wedding, but Mrs. Patterson did. She apologized, said she had no idea about the dress's origin. She also mentioned that Brittany couldn't wear it in the end. It fell apart during the final alterations, the stress of multiple size changes destroying the integrity of the fabric. Just like my parents' cruelty ultimately destroyed any chance of a relationship with me. They thought they were selling a dress. They were selling their daughter. And $50 was all I was worth to them. Marcus's family? They think I'm priceless. And that dress, that beautiful vintage, perfect dress, proved them right.